It's the Federation. You know, we're all here. You know, it's taking the left money out of the right money, and but this seemed to me to be a prudent investment of U.S. LMA, LMA investments to spend $5,000 simply for that one event, just that one event, to guarantee or have some security for this. And we haven't agreed on this. That was just what we thought would be prudent. Yes. And I think I saw Tom and then Ruth.
I would just like to point out that we have 4 major national scholastic tournaments. 3 of them are local and supranational, so we don't actually have all of our eggs in one basket. We have 3/4 of 1 year's worth of eggs.
That's enough eggs to worry me. Okay. Ruth.
Did you engage to have a risk assessment done to find out how likely it would be that there would be a terrorist attack at Supernatural?
No, the risk assessment is done by the insurance company, and we haven't done this yet.
$5,000 is a lot more than we made in
Ruth, we're looking into this.
Okay,
We haven't fulfilled this. We asked Joe to look into this. We haven't decided upon this. This is just what our thinking is.
why would you recommend that would be the first step?
Well, by the way, that's why, as you recall, when I praised Joe Nana and at the beginning of the talk, that means Joe and now Alan is going to be doing this. We're not going to run into this blindly. It's just, it seemed to us that possibly this is something that we should think about. That's all.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm off by a year, but we were extremely lucky in 2011 that we did not have an event in Nashville. Does everybody recall what happened in the city of Nashville in the spring? The Opryland Convention Center was underwater. The entire building was underwater for many months. They were completely closed until I believe October. And we just happened to not have an event there that year. We were lucky.
Mike makes a very good point, and this is something that has just worried us a little bit. That we provide for this kind of thing. But yes, thank you. Yes, Bill.
My concern here is that I take my concern that this is an operations issue. Does the prudence of the LMA extend not only to LMA assets, but the watchdog over operations? To me, that's exceeding your task clearly. That's your goal is to maintain prudent management over your assets, not to worry about things outside your bailiwick. Very much. And I would go, what point? I should correct what I said earlier. I should have noted that LMA assets should be introduced by the mortgage associated with it. It seems like LMA is already pretty much fully funded. I want to see LMA grow and prosper. Is there a certain amount of funding, let's say 110%, that you're comfortable with, and above which you're just going to say, here excess, take it operation? Would you like to see that 150%, 200%? And I grant that deferred revenue may not truly represent actuarial liability. So I'm going all of it, so I'll stop there. So,
Let's just start with your first point. The reason that I'm bringing this to you is in interest of complete transparency, which is why it's in my report, which if you look at this thing, right, it's in my report. This is what we are considering doing. And the delegates are in charge. So, if the delegates say, oh, no, this is not our call, we shouldn't put any more money into this, well, just something that I have proposed that we should think about. That this is just simple prudence, caution, and in my view, correct procedure, but it's up to the delegates.
But why wouldn't you say to the delegates, to the executive director and the board, shouldn't the ED and the board be considering this because it's an operations issue? I'm not disputing the prudence because that built the wrong year could have been a disaster. But shouldn't that prudence be exercised by the ED, the board, and not the delegates?
That is not for the LMA to decide. We are simply offering, because we understand really quite well the pressures that operations are under. I mean, it's not as though they can just find 5,000 like that. So what my proposal was, yes, I think technically probably you're correct that this is an operations thing, but we were simply saying that, well, maybe we can help a little bit here. And,
Okay. Go back. That's the secret one. That's the second thing. What have you decided? What is 110% enough, or how much overfunding is fully full? And where do you feel comfortable in terms of LMA assets as opposed to versus liability? What's your?
we don't have enough.
How much would be?
We used to have enough. We don't have enough anymore. So what we're trying to do is to recover enough. All right. We used to have something like $2 million. All right.
So for example, there are how many life members now? 10,000.
Roughly.
And the actual cost of servicing them annually is what, $20? What? Yeah, call it 20 if you want to make.
Well, I want to actually, I didn't think I'd get into this, but I do want to get into this, especially since my friend Bill Paul is here, to remind everyone in the room that life members are not a liability to the Federation. They are a net asset to the Federation. That if we would actually go out and raise money from them, we would get a lot of money. And every year
I'll address that tomorrow.
okay, and every year I remind Bill that we should go out and kind of shake the trees and see what happens. I mean, Phil Lacorna was a very, very good friend of mine, and without any solicitation, he left us $400,000. And I have offered constantly to help Bill do a letter that would actually ask life members to contribute money. And they will, if we're just approaching them directly. These are not people these are responsible people that have money. And they will contribute money if we ask them. And he'll address this tomorrow.
If life members live forever, 5% would be roughly, at 5%, $3 million would be roughly sufficient. So knock out something because some of them will die something. If they are an asset, I would think it's somewhere around 2 to 2.5 million.
We have done these calculations. I don't know how long you've been with the Federation involved in these calculations. We've been doing these calculations forever, and we know precisely, the amount. We really do know the amount, and so I think the thing to do is to be optimistic and to say these are people that will give us money. They will. I have.
The big key is, like you referenced in 2007, we drew a line in the sand.
except for one thing. No rent is ever charged for the building. Ever. Right, so,
And that was an exchange.
and that's an exchange.
However, the operation budget is paying that more.
Yes.
Operation.
Yeah, it's 3,000.
Pays down the mortgage, and we service about, but they're currently receiving the premium benefits on life membership. I think it's like 3,500 or so life members, 10,000 life members, but there's only 3,500 or so that have chosen to receive just life. And so multiply that by about $15, and that's what our hard costs are for servicing. And that's coming out of operations every year, and then we're paying out the mortgage.
Has a sale lease back ever been floated?
No.
A sale lease back, because a third party buyer would then have appreciation. And then, you know, and then you got more liquidity.
The mortgage is supposed to be paid off in 5 years. So
Yeah.
really, this life was to get paid off and not screw with it.
Yeah, let's.
I didn't vote in favor of the LMA paying it off, but I really would like for us to get.
Send an email. We are always happy. It's Redman Inc. INK at yahoo.com, and you know we're always happy for advice. And actually, President Perry has given us some good advice. Other people, good advice. That doesn't mean we're going to take this advice because it's a conservative group. But the conservative group is in the hands of the delegates. The delegates control who we are. And if you're not happy with us, throw the bums out.
I wouldn't recommend a sale lease back right this time, because the value is depleted right now. You know, you wait till the value is high, and then.
Yeah, and then.
No, it might be considered.
Might be considered. It would make more sense than it does.
Arguably, it might make some sense. I don't think it would, but that's.
Okay, so, you know, the upshot is that we've got something like $722,000 in property, and we have something like $600,000 in revenue, in cash, and we've just been accumulating it to, in the interest of all you guys, in the interest of the Federation. We've been doing this now under my chairmanship for several years, and until you fire us, we're going to just keep doing this. We want to build this up. Ruth.
So, would it be possible then for you to talk about your investment philosophy and talk about your track record over the last 10 years so that we can get a good understanding of where we are, where we've been, where we are, and where you're proposing that we go? Because, big picture wise, I'm not hearing a lot of detail, but I'm hearing a lot of good words. I'd like to see the numbers. I'd like to hear the.
We can certainly provide you with the numbers. We would provide any delegate with the numbers that for you to ask me what we've been doing for 10 years, I have no idea, because I've only been chair for, I think, 4 or 5 years, and but I can tell you what we've been doing is we made some small investment in individual stocks that I inherited from the previous chair and the previous committee, and they did not do well. We didn't lose a lot of money, but we lost money, and we have been extremely conservative and put the money into CDs. That's been our strategy. So now in advance, going forward, does seem to be the consensus of the LMA that we buy the building. And that essentially we transfer the 5%, whatever, okay, interest from operations to, all right, to the LMA. And as nearly as we can say, that seems to be the consensus of the LMA. Now, every single person in this room probably has a better idea about how we should be doing this, but this is our best idea. We are very conservative.
So thank you, that gives me a little better idea. I guess what I'm looking for, and maybe it's just me and my obsession with spreadsheets and figuring out where I am, but, you know, with my personal investment, if I baseline against the S&P 500 and compare my results to how the market does, and then I make my decisions based on looking at that in a relative manner. So, you know, that's where I'm coming from in asking for what the investment philosophy is. You know, when you have a meeting of your investment committee,
Yes.
you have like a charter that says, here's our investment philosophy, here's the kind of thing we're going to invest in.
We have discussed these things, and in my report, which is here, I thanked the president, Ruth Herring, for her advice on this, but we have decided that we are not going to follow that kind of individual advice, which has worked so well for you, and we're very happy about that, that we have to be extremely conservative with the assets of the
That's not what
LMA.
I'm talking about.
Well, no, but in a way it is what you're talking about. What you said was, here is what I've done, and here's what LMA has done, and you were comparing the two.
No, I'm saying, what's a reasonable rate of return for this point in time, and how do you compare it?
Historically, the Federation has defined a reasonable rate of return at 8%. Anyone out there getting 8% on anything? No. All right. All right. Good for you. Okay. But so we are simply saying, given what we can do for the Federation, this is our best judgment. And the best judgment is to go with the recommendation from Joanna and the investment committee is to buy the building, take over the mortgage.
And I agree with the conservative philosophy. I just want to make sure that thinking has been done behind the scenes.
There has been a lot of thinking done behind it, believe me. And I'm perfectly happy to share this with you or with anyone. I mean, this is all transparent. I mean,
Can we move to the rest of the finance?
I hope so.
There's a lot more USCF finances than LMA.
There was an LMA committee meeting.
I do have one question. In our assets, we talk about the activity in the overwise account and in the account summaries, we give the investment account summary. Is the overwise account something that's pro bono, something shop for?
It's pro bono.
It's pro bono.
Yes.
Have you ever shopped for that, or?
No, it's
Can we say we're satisfied with that?
It is pro bono. It is completely free. It always has been.
There's not investment activity going on, and really it's in money market.
Well, I see the activity is $955.
Right, it's in money market
Yeah.
stuff, paying nothing.
We're probably not oversatisfied with that.
No one's. I mean, you know, I get my savings account. And I look.
Okay, good.
Are you kidding? Okay. Yeah, Chuck.
Can you clarify when you get $1 million? What year did you have $1 million?
This was a long time ago. Right, and I have to go digging through my basement.
What day did you serve?
It's probably in the 70s.
If I could turn the meeting to the finance side, please. The chairman of the finance committee is Randy Bauer. That's why he's up here. And of course, the chief financial officer of the Federation is Mr. Nana, who is at my left. And I am the vice president of finance of the organization. I would like to point out a couple of items from this last year, if I may. First of all, our audit for our fiscal year ending May 31 of 2012 has been completed by the Knoxville firm of Bible Harris Smith. They have been auditing us now. This is the third year. So they have completed their original 3-year contract for audit. I think Joe and the office staff have been very happy with the relationship with the firm. We replaced them. The audit committee made a recommendation, and the executive board hired a replacement. These people to replace the prior firm that we've been using from Chattanooga at about $3,000 to $4,000 less per year, and I believe Joe's been more happy with their responsiveness to our work as well. Now, granted, our situation in the last year or so has gotten a little bit simpler, but they were auditing when we were in the middle of some really interesting financial times as well. So, from my perspective, Mr. Snyder, who is the lead auditor on the account, is very good about communicating with me and communicating around the management, which is what they're supposed to do, and getting me the information that, asking me the right questions. For those of you that don't know, I'm a CPA. I'm primarily an auditor, so that's what I do for a living, and I'm very confident in the way that they're doing it. They do have a proposal to us to renew their contract for either a year or 3, which after we get the audit committee reappointed tomorrow, we'll discuss that and see. But at this point, I certainly think that management's recommendation and my recommendation is going to, I think it's fair, Joe, to say your recommendation is try to continue with them.
Yes, they're easy to work with, they're very efficient, and they saved us several $1,000s over the last 2 years.
And it certainly would be my recommendation to continue that relationship as well. So the people who will make that final decision according to our bylaws is the executive board, but they will do that upon recommendation of the audit committee. We have received the financial statement for the year ended May 31, 2012. The audit opinion is dated July the 26th, and they have issued us an unqualified opinion. What an unqualified opinion means, it says, in their opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the USCF and the changes in its net assets and cash flows for the years that ended in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. That doesn't mean to say that these financial statements are perfect. It means to say that if they were perfect, the difference between what's here and what perfection would not be so much as to make you draw a different opinion as to the financial position of the organization. So let's turn to the financial position. Our cash position from this point, from the end of May last year, has declined. That decline has been intentional. Because of the litigation that was still rattling around and settlements that had been resolved not terribly long before the close of the prior fiscal year, we had worked very hard to hold reserves and liquidity, and once that passed, the need to hold that level of reserves and liquidity had declined, and the need to pay our bills to our attorneys had increased. So there has been a substantial reduction in the amount that has been owed in back legal fees. Most of the amounts of the attorney bills have been carried by the attorneys, but we also had drawn into the line of credit. At this point last year, at the end of the prior fiscal year in 2011, we had borrowed 100% of our line of credit, although we were holding largely that in cash. At the end of 2012's fiscal year, we had paid down the line of credit to zero. We had paid off the substantial portion of the legal fees, and in fact, those legal fees should be completely paid off by the 1st of September of this, the 1st of September, 3 weeks from now. We should be out from under all the legal fees related to the prior lawsuits with the departed executive board members. The remaining debt that we have primarily is that we find on the financial statements, primarily is the mortgage, which is $233,000 with the local bank in the area of Crossville. It is a mortgage carrying an interest rate of 5.5%. We're making $3,880 a month payments. So essentially we're increasing the life member asset value to the tune of almost $46,000 a year by paying the mortgage down at present. The amount of deferred liabilities remains relatively constant. Those are liabilities for providing memberships when people buy a 2- and 3-year membership, and also providing services long-term to life members. We also have a line for deferred scholarships, which are scholarships which have been promised to winners of certain scholastic events. But the cash is paid down, but our debts are paid down significantly. If you look at the cash flow statement on the financial statements, you see that net operations with paying down accounts payable and other expenses still provided about $100,000 worth of cash. $200,000 went to paying down the line of credit, and then the other payments on our debts caused our cash balance to decline by $176,000. Again, that's planned to happen in a way. So we do have an outstanding line of credit that we can go back into if we need to. This is the time of year we usually have to do that because the summer is usually our lowest cash flow period. The challenges that we face as we move into the new year, which are contained in the budget proposal, are interesting. We had a phenomenal year for the year ended in May. Our original budget for the year ended in May showed a bottom line revenues over expenditures of $76,000, and we generated more like $250,000. We needed to generate more like $250,000. That happened because of several things. One, it happened because we have still continued in the office to be very, very cautious about expenditures and have continued to try to hold down expenses in every way possible, not just cutting out into fat, but cutting into meat and bone in cases. And now some of that's got to change. We have not invested in any significant way in our computer infrastructure, and during this coming year we are going to have to do that. And that is going to continue for the next several years with some significant amounts of money to make sure that the infrastructure continues to work. Things like the telephone system in the office being run on a computer system that's 8 years old is really not in the best interest of us long term. That's not going to continue to function. We have servers that need to be replaced. We have a complete infrastructure in the office that needs to be, computer infrastructure in the office that needs to be rethought. Plus, we have our technology structure for our databases that are held outside of the office as well that need attention. Also during this next year, one thing that was helpful for the year ended May of 2012 is that our international tournament expenses were a little bit lower, but the year ended